Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner, and today is the team time trial event at Paris-Nice, Stage 3. Everybody knows this is the stage to tune in for because this is going to have one of the deciding factors on all the GC guys on who can win Paris-Nice. Now, before the stage race started, you have to look at Jumbo-Visma, and you know they're the big-time favorites. I mean, they have the current time trial world champion in Foss, and then they have Rowan Dennis, who's an ex-world time trial champion. They have the Tour de France winner from last year, and Jonas Vingegaard, and they have all kinds of power with Eduardo Affini in there, who's strong in the team time trials. So it's just a matter of how much time can they gain on the competition here, and how much time specifically can they gain on Tadej Pogačar? Because we know we're going to start the mountains on tomorrow's stage 4, and then we're going to go into the bigger mountains as we get later here at Paris-Nice. But Tadej Pogačar already has 2 times first place, 6-second time bonuses on stage 1 and stage 2, so he has a 12-second advantage over Jonas Vingegaard, the big pre-race favorite here at Paris-Nice. Now, when the teams start going off the ramp, the big discussion is going to be how are the teams going to play it at the finish when it's everybody's time counts individually for themselves, and the first rider crossing the line for your team is going to decide today's stage 3 classment of winners and where each team will place throughout the stage. So keep that in mind. There's all kinds of tactical messes that can make happen with the way they're doing it with a single rider setting the time for your team, but all your GC riders have to set their own team. So when you look at Team Ineos that basically have 2, if not 3 leaders on their team with Danny Martinez, Sivakov, and then Jonathan Narvaez, they have some players here that need to keep in touch, so they need to finish really with 3. UAE Team Emirates, they only need to finish with 1, Tadej Pogačar, right? Jonas Vingegaard for Jumbo-Visma, he needs to finish at least by himself at the front, but he can't be stuck at the back there off of his team time. So keep that in mind. There's all kinds of different scenarios that can play into the tactics of today's race, and how they're going to play it out is going to be interesting. Now, the first team to leave the ramp is Lotto Destiny. And to my disbelief, they're playing the tactic of going everybody selling out and sending one rider into the finish to take the hot seat here for Lotto Destiny. But we all know these guys can't do the team time trial. I think this is being a knucklehead move. I mean, Enkhoff, when he comes across the line solo by himself, sprinting like a madman, it just doesn't make any sense, guys. Take this race easy, make it a rest day, keep your guys recovered, put them in the early breakaway tomorrow and see if you can get away and get some time on all the GC favorites because they let the break go. Now, when I've done team time trials, I did it, of course, with Sonia Deval Pro Deux. I did it in the Tour de France. We knew we weren't favorites. We looked just like Lotto Destiny here, only we were smart enough to just shut it down, go easy. We were going to lose minutes anyway, so we lose 1 more minute, no big deal. Now, I've done it other times when I did it with Radio Shack at the Tour de France, and you've had phenomenal power in that team with time trial specialists like Andreas Kloden, and with his kind of power, I didn't want to be anywhere near him because we're going for GC battle, and we're going to try to win the stage. So I've been in different scenarios, and both are scary to be in because you got guys that are being knuckleheads on one side riding too hard when they shouldn't be, and then guys that can time trial so strong you just don't want to be anywhere near their wheel for fear of getting dropped. So when Lotto Destiny comes across the line, sure, they're in the hot seat. They're the first team going off, but I think they're a bunch of knuckleheads. Now, let's get into the real exciting part because it's going to be Jaco Alula that goes off and they start setting a blistering time. All right, they come through the first time check. They're up 33 seconds on Lotto's time, and they're flying. They're going to go all the way into the last final few K, and this is when they're going to start dropping off the majority of their riders. And the last rider to drop off is going to be Keelan O'Brien as he gets them all the way into the chicane. And then we see it's Yates, their GC favorite, and Michael Matthews, their sprint favorite to win stages here. Those 2 riders will come to the line with Simon Yates leading the way, driving it in. They're going to be in the hot seat by 43 seconds. So we know Jaco put in a solid time up here as we see him getting all crossing the line in 2s, 1s, and 1s here on today's team time trial. Now, next up, while out on the course, UAE Team Emirates, they've been flying out there. Ineos is out there riding as a solid team unit, not really losing guys and always keeping it well oiled. When we see UAE Team Emirates, though, we're less than a minute and a half into the stage as we come into a little forest left-hand turn, and it's Grossschartner that's out on the outside of the turn as they're making the left, and he gets gapped off. Now, we see from the pictures looking up front, it's Tadej Pogačar. He's looking back over his shoulder because he knows Grossschartner's come off the back. They're going to back the energy off and bring Grossschartner back on to keep it a 7-man team at this moment. Now, remember, it was Grossschartner that crashed in stage 1, and I say you guys got to pay attention because this could be an important engine piece for the team time trial for UAE team members, because it's not going to take too long before Novak starts coming off the back early into this team time trial stage 3. Now, UAE team members are having problems because they start losing other riders coming out the back, and they're down to just 4 riders as they're coming near the finish here of stage 3. But guess what? Grossschartner is still there. Trentin is still there. Pogačar, of course, is there. And Mikhail Berg, their time trial specialist, he's still locked on. The next rider as we get closer to the finish is going to be Matteo Trentin that drops off with about 10 minutes still to go in the stage. So you know this isn't planned. This is just pure effort from UAE team members up there blowing riders out the back. And this was another scenario nobody talked about, the benefit of having only one rider finish on today's stage. You don't have to wait for riders that are blowing. That's a plus too. Of course, you could do the sprint all the way into the 1.5K like we'll see other teams do here on stage 3. But if you're losing riders, you don't have to wait for them. So Novak, you can send them out the back. Now when you see Matteo Trentin with 10 minutes still to go in the stage, as he's coming out the back, there's only 3 riders left and one's Grossschartner. He's crashed on stage 1. He's doing a phenomenal ride for Felix Grossschartner to stay on with Tadej Pogačar and Mikhail Berg. Now Grossschartner will pull all the way into just under a K to go before he pulls off, and that's going to leave 2 guys up front. Mikhail Berg's doing a big time dig right there as we come into the chicane, and then with a few hundred meters to go, Tadej Pogačar will launch himself going solo all the way to the line for second on the stage, just 19 seconds behind Jaco Alula. This was a solid time, and I gotta believe when you're looking at the strategy, because this wasn't strategy of dropping a rider off at 1.5, dropping a rider off at 1K, dropping another rider off at 700, dropping off at 600, launching Tadej Pogačar for the stage win. This was just the team falling to pieces throughout the stage, and you don't have to wait for anyone. So Tadej Pogačar sprinting to the line solo, that's not a strategic move. That's just the way the race played out for UAE team members, and it keeps them 19 seconds behind Jaco Alula. Now, next team out there on the course, Ineos, when they were out there, they were working well together, but they crossed the line with 3 guys together and lost a ton of time, about 30-40 seconds on today's race when it's all said and done. But they did finish with Sivakov, Jonathan Navarez, and with Danny Martinez up there. So maybe with that in mind, they can play some tactical games later on here at Paris-Nice. Now, let's get into what's happening behind, because Jumbo-Visma's out on the course, and we knew these were the big-time favorites. I'll show you as they lead the ramp up front. Guess who's starting this train out? It's going to be Rowan Dennis on the front doing a big-time pull. He'll pull all the way into that same left turn that caused problems for Grossschartner, only this time, look at the way Rowan Dennis slots back so that he's all the way on the back of the train before they go into the little chicane of the right and left turn. So now when you're going through that left turn, Rowan Dennis is solidly locked onto the back, and they don't lose anyone or gap any time right there. Talking about marginal gains, right, compared to UAE team members. Grossschartner's turn going through that left turn. Now, Jumbo-Visma's on the front, and they're driving hard. Every time I see Olaf Koy, he's pulling after Jonas Vingegaard, and I'll show you in the picture, Jonas Vingegaard's still on the side dropping back as Olaf Koy's pulling off the front. Normally, the way a team time trial would work, if everybody's strong and even, the first rider pulling off would come about to the back when the next rider's coming off to do his turn. Instead, Olaf Koy's coming off a bit quicker. We're going to see the results of what's happening to his legs, because Olaf Koy will be the first rider to fall off the group. Now, when they come through the time check, the first time check, 16-kilometer mark, they're up by 0.44 of a second on Jaco Alula, so they're in the hot seat here at stage 3 of the team time trial. They're working fine together. They're doing fabulous pulls. And when we come into the very finish, this is where you're going to see the tactical tactical team using the advantage of just one rider having to finish today, because we'll see it's Eduardo Affini that's first to come off at 1.4 kilometers to go. This is the tactic that all the commentators were talking about. Start dropping riders off if you have a 5-man team at 1.5 to go. So with Eduardo Affini going, you know they're using plan A tactic here in the team time trial. Next rider to go off will be Rowan Dennis, and he'll be followed quickly thereafter by Tobias Foss, the current world time trial champion. That leaves 3 riders up front. Tratnik's driving it full gas, and he'll pull last year's Tour de France champion all the way to the line, as it's Tratnik, Jonas Vingegaard, and Van Hooijdonk that's crossing the line here to go into the hot seat with a 4-second jump over Jaco Alula. Now, we know at this point in time, guess what? Van Hooijdonk not only could win this stage here for Jumbo-Visma with finishing up front there with Jonas Vingegaard and Tratnik, but he could be wearing the race leader's yellow jersey in tomorrow's stage. Only problem is we got a couple other teams out there and already have left the ramp is EF Education. They're out there flying. We got Quick Step out there who's looking disorganized and falling apart all over the place, with Tim de Klerk getting dropped early off the back of the Quick Step train and then having to wait up and pull him back on. Trek Segafredo, they left the ramp. They're going full gas too because, of course, they're wearing the race leader's yellow jersey here with Mads Pedersen, and they have a GC threat with Skilmos. So with those teams out there, we still got a lot to pay attention to here on stage 3 with Jumbo-Visma in the hot seat. As we start seeing EF Education, they're flying around the course and they look solid, and they're going to do plan number 1 too. As we see, once we come into the finish, they start dropping riders off left and right. Last rider to drop off the group is going to be Nielsen Palace, and in front of him is Magnus Cort Nielsen. Magnus Cort Nielsen's flying through the chicane as it's a little bit up, rise to the finish. He's sprinting, going 100%, throws his bike at the line for second on the stage, 1 second behind Jumbo-Visma, but guess what? He was 2 seconds up on Nathan Van Hooijdonk, so he's in the hot seat to start tomorrow's stage 4 in the race leader's jersey if the teams behind can't dislodge. Now, we look, Quick Step's not going to do it. They were disorganized all over the place and falling apart. Trek Segafredo, bit more well gelled together, but they're going to still lose a bunch of time and just finish inside the top 10 here on stage 3. But Skilmos will be their last rider sprinting to the line, so they'll lose the jersey, Mads Pedersen, to EF Education's Magnus Cort Nielsen. Fabulous ride from Magnus Cort Nielsen, who didn't win today's stage. They only lost by 1 second to Jumbo-Visma. But they do get the race leader's yellow jersey to start tomorrow's stage 4 here at Paris-Nice. Now, when we're talking about Tadej Pogačar's UAE Team Emirates, I think this was a winning stage. Tadej Pogačar's got to be happy, right? They only lost 23 seconds to Jumbo-Visma, but now with the time bonuses he won in stage 1 and stage 2, guess what? He's only 11 seconds down on Jonas Vingegaard. Now, when we start throwing in time bonuses on all these next stages and time sprints, he's quite possibly, you can look at it as he's ahead of Jonas Vingegaard right now. Even though in the interview from Jonas Vingegaard, he said it's always better to be up on a rider than down. And I got to agree, even taking 11 seconds, I'd take it. But if I'm looking at it from Tadej Pogačar's point of view right now from UAE Team Emirates, basically you just got to keep the fields together so you can start sprinting for more time bonuses. And before you know it, you don't even have to drop Jonas Vingegaard in the mountains. He's going to have to drop you if Tadej Pogačar can pull some more time bonuses on Jonas Vingegaard's Jumbo-Visma. So, when it's all said and done, after the team time trial, instead of it being a blowout of 1 minute or 40 seconds down for Tadej Pogačar from Jonas Vingegaard, we got an extremely tight race with only that 11 seconds separating the 2 riders. So we know there's going to be big time battles. And when we start looking forward, we got Yates in there because he's ahead of Tadej Pogačar by a bit. But remember, Michael Matthews didn't want to sprint Tadej Pogačar for those time bonuses yesterday. So that means that Tadej Pogačar is even a little bit closer to Yates than it looks like on the general classification because of Michael Matthews' knucklehead moves of just giving away those time bonuses in yesterday's race. He'll probably call me and say, hey, I didn't give those away. Tadej Pogačar just beat me in the sprint. Maybe he did, but I don't think so. Anyways, when we start looking forward in the mountain stages, there's a bunch of big battles. The GC is really close. Simon Yates, big time favorite. Remember last year's Paris-Nice when he was going solo up Col d'Ez and almost in there with winning against Jumbo-Visma, but Wout van Aert did that amazing pull for Primoz Roglic for Jumbo-Visma to keep the overall classification win at last year's Paris-Nice. So we got 3 big-time battles up there and a lot of other guys still on the general classification that can cause a little bit of chaos if we start seeing the 2 or 3 favorites looking at each other while they're letting other guys go up the road. Great team time trial stage here in stage 3 at Paris-Nice. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next edition real soon.